recording this. Okay. Good. So we're going to talk about families. Family is really, really important during our stay in Spain. And we're going to look at some families. We're going to look at what the families want and expect from you and what you expect and want from them. I had a fantastic photograph, which I can't find right now. If I could, I would show it to you because it showed us what happened 3 years ago when we had COVID. Okay. Let me just see if I find it. Okay, let's just see if I can find it here. One of the fantastic things about this photograph, let's see if we've got it. Maybe we have. I think we have actually. Yep. There we go. I'm going to show. Let me show you this photograph. And tell me what you think you can see. You can't see it now. Now you should be able to see it. Can you see that? You see that photograph? Yep. Okay. Look at the date. This was taken on the 31st of March, 2020. This was taken on the 31st of March, 2020. And those were 5 volunteers. And that was me. And this was during a Zoom meeting. So, can anybody tell me what happened or what was happening on the 31st of March in the year 2020? Any ideas? So that was 3.5 years ago. 2020. The world was very different than the way it is today. Why? What happened?
The lockdown just started, and yeah, I knew that our schools were closed in Germany, and we weren't going to school. So yeah, we stayed home, and I know that the volunteers needed to come back to their home countries and didn't can't finish the volunteer service.
Absolutely, absolutely. So it was COVID. It was COVID. Lockdown. Everybody had to stay at home. And look at these 5 people. We got William, Morgan, we got Rosie, May, Angela, and Benjamin. Okay. Look, yes, it's coming in, probably on his boat. He's probably going to show us a video of what he's doing. But anyway, I want you to look at this photograph. You've got 5 volunteers there. And they're 5 happy people. And they're putting their thumbs up. And they're clapping. And they're being very positive. And the reason is that these 5 people who are from New Zealand and Australia, when COVID came and we had lockdown, these 5 people said, we're not going home. We're going to stay. We're going to stay with the families. Okay? And they did. They stayed with the Spanish families for 2-3 months. I think in the end, Angela went home and Rosie went home at some point, but probably in May or in June. So these people were obviously so happy with their Spanish families. They'd been here since January, so that was 3 months, that they decided that they would be happy enough to spend the rest of the time with their Spanish families. And they did. Okay? So that hopefully is how happy you will be with your Spanish family, right? And this was not happy because they went to parties, or they gave them lots of presents, or the food was very good. All these 5 volunteers were in very different families. So I can tell you that May's family, May is on the right with dark hair. She was with a very nice, rich family. You know, they were very well off, lots of space, a couple of dogs. She was at the Corazonistas. That's funny. She was at the Corazonistas. She had a great time. But if we look at Angela, who's on the other side at the bottom, she was with a lovely family too, but they lived in a very small place in the city of Burgos. But she was happy to stay there. She didn't have a problem. And then if you look at Rosie, Rosie was in one of the most distant placements, no other volunteers, a very, very small village of about 300 people. So you can see that each person or each of them managed to find a different kind of relationship, something which was special with the family. Okay. Okay, so that's I wanted you to see that. Now, let's go back then, and some of the things about
Hello,
families.
Josh.
Hello, yes, how are you?
I'm doing.
You just disappeared, mate. Okay, let me know when you're back, and you can put on your webcam, and we can see where you are.
Hi, I'm back. Sorry.
Where are you?
I'm okay. Wait, let me show you.
Wait a minute. Yes, it's going to show us where he is. Okay, come on.
Hi.
There he is. Can you see this? So are you actually sailing the boat?
Yes,
Yeah. Oh, you
yeah.
also.
I was just keeping
Oh,
our stuff here.
okay, there you go. But
Yeah.
are you alone or with somebody?
No. With here with my partner.
All right, excellent, good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Today is actually a good day to sail because you can see the sea is very calm.
Yeah, and it looks like beautiful weather as well.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you,
Yeah. It's really nice.
thank you very much for showing us.
No
Now,
problem.
we've got to get back to the meeting. Okay.
Okay.
Brilliant. Well done. Okay. Lucky boy. Lucky yes it. There you go. Okay. So a little surprise for us. First of all, we're going to look at the agreements. Let's say when you're coming to live with the family expect things from you, and the family will offer you things. And this is what we ask the family to provide, and this is what we are asking you to provide to the family. Okay, this is like the agreement. It might be a little bit more flexible at sometimes, might be more flexible. The first thing, the families have to offer you a single room, all the meals, the chance to participate in family life. They have to organize your transport to the school. Very often that will be you get the bus. They will show you where the bus stop is, or they will take you by car, or maybe they will give you a bicycle. Okay? They will give you advice, local information, goodwill. So remember, they will do things in a positive way to make you feel at home. They want to give you a home from home. And it is true, not everybody will feel like this, but some of you, hopefully, will have the chance to feel that you are now in your second home. And I really hope that happens. And finally, of course, they will offer you medical advice. That's something which is a lot more practical, but that is, for example, if you need to see a doctor, then as James said the other day on Monday, the most important thing is that somebody who is with you can tell you where you have to go to see a doctor. Don't ask me. All I can say is, yes, go and see a doctor. That's a great idea. But I probably can't, I don't know, unless it's in specific cities. I couldn't tell you where to go, but your family will. Okay? Very often the local doctor will see you, will not even ask for any papers, will just see how you're doing. The volunteers will offer, and this is what I ask you to offer, 5 hours a week with the children at home. I really mean sitting down with the kids at the family home saying, well, I will read you a story, or let's talk in English, or let's play a game in English, or in German, of course. Let's do something together at home so that the children can practice their language. You have to be quite careful about this, because if you're going to sit down for 1 hour with a very small child, you can't be giving them language classes. But maybe you can talk, or you can watch a movie or a cartoon with them. Okay, so it's not formal language classes, but English, definitely. They do want to speak English with you, or German. Now, what you'll find is, when should you be speaking English or German with them? And the best place, I can tell you, is during meals, okay? At the dinner table. That's one of the best ideas, because that's when the parents can see that their kids are practicing with you. And also, it's very good for the children to learn kind of important functional things, like asking, can I have some water? Would you like some bread? Okay, so those are important things. All right, good. Also, participation. Okay, you need to offer your participation. You need to say yes when they say, would you like to come and do something with us? We're going to a party. We're going to a wedding. Would you like to come? Always, always, please say yes as soon as possible. Okay, as often as possible. Say yes. Okay. I'm getting a message that my internet connection is not so good, so that's why I'm speaking very slowly at the moment. Again, your goodwill. You're not living there as an au pair, very important. And two, you're not just given a room, you're given part of the family there. So we want your goodwill and your engagement. And when we say engagement, one of the worst things that can happen is that the family says, oh, yes, it never talks to us. Kudzi never comes out of his room. Sam is always very serious on his telephone or listening to music with his headphones on. Okay, those are the sort of things which do not promote engagement, and those are the things you have to be really, you have to make a real effort. Sometimes you'll feel sad, sometimes you'll feel lost, sometimes you'll feel tired. Make a little effort, a small little effort. Even if you're feeling sad, you need to say to yourself, okay, I'm gonna go and speak to the children at home and see if they'd like to play a game, or if they'd like to draw something with me. Okay, those things will be great if they work. The other thing about being with the children at home is, if you're in a home and the kids are 15 or 16 or 14, sometimes they're not going to want to hang out with you. Sometimes they want their own time because they're chatting with their friends or they're posting on Instagram, and suddenly it seems like the family are forcing you to interfere in their lives. And so you have to make sure, you have to really make an effort to gain their trust. So you need sometimes to think, well, what are the things which we can do in common? And to be honest, I don't really know if somebody's really into using their Instagram or, you know, Facebook or Snapchat or whatever. I think those are pretty kind of personal, individual things, not necessarily things which you want to share or you can share with somebody else. That's life. Okay, sometimes that those relationships can be, they can change. And sometimes children can be a little bit reserved when somebody new comes into the family. You have to be patient about that. We might want to ask ourselves, what is a family? And look, can you see those? Lots of different families, right? We've got twin sex or double gender family, a traditional family, a man and a woman. That's fine. We've also got same-sex families, where it's two women or two men. They might have children, might have two women and children, might have two men and children and a dog. Okay? So you have to open your mind and you have to accept that you might meet people who have different lifestyles. Most, I would say, 90% of our families are married couples, one man, one woman, and a child or two children. Okay? Yes, you have something to say?
Yeah, no, my family has two kids, two dogs, a grandpa, and a caretaker. So yeah, it's big.
Okay, so that's an important thing. That's an important thing. So that the granddad, okay, so the grandparents are very often part of the family. And you might have a situation where if the children come home to have lunch at home and you come with them, maybe one day they say, no, you're not going to have lunch at home. You're going to have lunch with the grandparents. Okay? So you find that the grandparents' home is almost an extension of the family home. So you do have to get used to that, what we call in English, the extended family. And the fact that the extended family come in, go out, they visit. Sometimes we eat at home, sometimes we eat at the other people's house. Very often, for Spanish people, families are very, very important. Okay, and then we said, well, what's a typical Spanish family? Well, yes, it said that his family is a mum and a dad, mum and dad, and two kids, which is nice, and two dogs, and granddad, and a caretaker. Well, what about that? Okay, look at these pictures. You see 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Any ideas? What about picture number 1? Who are they? There's 3 women and a man. Who are these people? Do you know?
I think it's the Spanish royal family. I think it's the king and the queen and the 2 daughters.
Okay, it's the Spanish royal family. The Spanish, look, he's not wearing a crown. The king is not wearing a crown. He's not like looking like a really kind of kingly sort of person. What do you know anything about the Spanish royal family? What can you tell me? Well, it's very interesting because they're not that traditional. Actually, the Queen is not an aristocrat at all. The Queen used to work on the television, used to read the news. Okay? And the king, before he was king, he was the prince, he used to watch the television news every evening. And he fell in love. He fell in love with the presenter, and he sent for her to come. I must meet you. I want to meet you. And they met, and they fell in love, and they got married, and they had 2 children, 2 daughters, and their names are I can't remember their names, Sophia and something else. Okay, or yeah, whatever. The point is that both of them, and they're about 17, 18 now, they were both sent away to go and live in the United Kingdom. Okay, they went to school in Wales. And that was not, it's not very common for Spanish families to send their children away. And they're quite popular. But of course, they have palaces and lots of money, and they're very glamorous. So it's not a typical family. What about the second picture? What can you see there? What kind of family is that, do you think? Is that a typical Spanish family? You can probably tell because of their clothes. They are Spanish, but they are a particular ethnic group. What group do you think they are? Any ideas? If you look really carefully at them, you could see that they are, look, they are Spanish. Of course, they're Spanish. These are gypsies. This is a gypsy family. Okay? And you can tell by their face that they look like gypsies. Okay? So gypsy families are very often very, very extended families. And so they all live together in very large groups, and very often they keep themselves to specific areas of specific cities. Okay, and this is actually in Seville, in the south of Spain. Lovely place to visit. I hope you will all visit Seville at some point. And the gypsies normally, well, I think like the royal family, they wear very nice colored clothes. And they're very loud, okay? And they have a particular way of thinking regarding children. This is really important. A lot of people say, why don't the gypsy children go to school? So they do go to school, but sometimes they miss school because the gypsy philosophy of life with children is that the children should be able to enjoy being children. And therefore, in a gypsy family, if the child is in bed and wants to sleep, the gypsy family will say, no, okay, that's fine. It's more important that my child can sleep and be happy than going to school. Right? It's a tradition, it's a custom. Okay. And if you look at the 2 families at the bottom, can you see they're both the same family, but with a few years difference? Can you see that? You see? So there's the dad. There he is now. There's the mum, and there she is now. There's the son, and there he is now. Okay. Right. And I think there's the daughter, and there she is now. Okay. So that's there are two families. And do you know these families? Have you ever seen them? No, probably not. Okay, so these are from the most famous television series, which is about this family. The series has been going on for like 25 years or 20 years, and it is the story of the family. Okay, and previously we had mum, dad, and three daughters. Sorry, two children, two boys, and one girl. And we also had the grandmum. So what happened in this family 25 years later? Yes, we've got mum and dad, and we've still got one of the daughters. Well, we've got another daughter here who's not in the first photograph, one of the sons. The other son has moved to another country, but we've got an adopted child. Then we've got another child who does not have a biological father. So this child was an in vitro fertilization. And then we have these ones. This is a divorced woman and her child. Okay. So we start to find that there's a lot more diversity in Spanish families, but also when we see Spanish families in movies or we see Spanish families on the television, there's also a lot more diversity. Okay. And I think this is something we're going to talk about, that diversity in Spain is something which is protected by law, and people have started very, very quickly to respect different kinds of diversity. And obviously we're expecting that you, people who come to Spain, should also respect that kind of diversity. Okay, here we go. Things which families do. Things which families do. They work. They work together, do they? They eat together. They have celebrations together. They do social activities together. They study together. They travel together. They do sport together, and they watch TV together. All right. I want you to look. I want you to decide. I want you to decide which of these two things, or which two things Spanish families do together. Which are the two most important, do you think? Which are the two most important? Write it down in the chat box, please. In the chat box. Which are two of the things which you think Spanish families generally do together? You write them down. Write down two things. Go on. More. Everybody. So eating, 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 celebrating and celebrating and celebrating. Yeah, okay. Watch TV. Yeah, okay. Well, I mean, let's look at that list. I mean, do they work together? Well, maybe if they've got a family business, they might work together. Yeah, or maybe they work in the same company. Yeah, possibly. They eat together, yes, as often as possible, always. Yep, we've spoken about this. We will speak about this again tomorrow, because food is such an important thing in Spanish culture. We need to be prepared. Okay, but definitely they eat together. There's no concept of eating alone. If you are eating alone, this is the saddest thing that anybody could do, all right? They think, oh, that's terrible. I have this vision of sitting down one day in my life in front of watching the big football match on the television with a kebab or a pizza alone with a bottle of beer. I would be so happy. A Spanish person would say, "What, are you crazy? Well, what are you doing alone?" Okay, so having celebrations, yes, and they do celebrate birthdays and they do celebrate weddings and Christmas, and it has to be together. Social activities, yes. Studying together. Well, I said yesterday, Spanish parents like to do the homework with the kids to make sure they're doing the homework, and also because they want to understand and they want to get the top marks for their boys and girls. And they might do some sport together. Maybe Spanish people do sport. Yeah, they do. Not necessarily as a family. Yes, it of course has a boat, so he goes off and does it alone or with his friends, with his family. He doesn't even live next to the sea. I don't know how he got a boat, but anyway. And watch TV together. Well, less and less, isn't it? Yeah, less and less, unfortunately. One, because adults' television time is normally much later. It's normally 10 o'clock at night. That's when adults tend to watch the television. So if you're very lucky, and also because people tend to watch Netflix or Prime or HBO or Disney Channel. And so nowadays, as you know, everybody chooses their own thing. They might be watching things, they might be in the same room, but everybody's watching their own screen. There we go. Definitely eat and have celebrations. And I'm going to say it, when you have the chance to eat with a Spanish family, when you have the chance to go to a celebration, take it, do it. Please do it. All right. And where do they live? Look, these are 4 different kind of, things, places they might live. What's the difference? The first one is what we call, there's a city, okay? There's a city there. Typically, maybe Alexis would see something like this. I don't think so. I'll tell you why in a minute. I'm trying to think, maybe in Vitoria, some of the areas might look like this. Maybe in Bilbao, which is quite urban. You might live in an apartment, in a flat. And this is a typical, what we would say is a barrio, okay? A barrio, which is a residential area. And a residential area, not particularly rich. Some barrios can be very poor. I don't think any of you are going to be living in some of the poor barrios. I mean, I was with him on Monday. In fact, he lives in a beautiful residential area. But I took him specially to see one of the really poor areas of the city, and he could definitely see the difference. It didn't look like this. It was much, much poorer. Okay? But some families like to stay in the same barrio. They don't, now we could go and live in a bigger house, but we're going to stay in our barrio. Happens. And the second one, you can see a more residential area, more modern housing. In the last 30 years, 20 years, 30 years, a lot of Spanish families prefer to live in a house with a small garden. It won't be in the center of the city. They'll be outside the city. Okay? They have their own space. And the houses, they're not necessarily bigger than the flats or apartments they lived in the city. It's just they like to be more independent. Okay? The disadvantage is that probably if you're living in a barrio, you can walk everywhere around your city. If you're in Vitoria, if you're, well, maybe not in Bilbao, but in Vitoria and Valladolid, definitely. If you're living in a residential area like this one with what they call a chalet, okay, these houses, you probably have to get the bus. You're probably 15 minutes from the city center. Okay, or if you're around in Valencia, you'd be able to get the metro into the city center. Or Bilbao, you'd be able to get the metro into the city center as well. The next one is a bigger house. That's a bigger house. Yeah, nice big garden, lots of room, fantastic, beautiful. Okay. Yeah, if you're lucky enough to have a host family like this, if you're lucky enough to have a family at home who live in a house like this, well, good for you. That's nice. And finally, we've got these older buildings, which are probably going to be in the center of the city. And you can see these flats. Yeah, maybe your family's going to live in a flat like this. It's looks very grand, really nice. I think Alexis' family is going to be in a house like this. At least I know the street where Alexis is going to be living has got buildings which look like this. So that might be nice. Oh, and they're nice places because they tend to have those very high ceilings, old style kind of big windows and balconies. Yeah, they're quite nice too. Okay, I can't think that any of your families would be living in anything which is very much different. Maybe Rique, who's going up to Ibarra, you know, I know your family lives about 5 kilometers, really in the countryside, in the mountains, which is going to be very, very special for you. I don't know what their house is like. I suspect they've got an older house which they have built or which they have reformed or renovated for themselves, because they specifically do not want to live in an urban area. So that's going to be really exciting for you, but you will have to manage. If you do not live in the city center or in the center of town, you'll have to manage how you get to places. And Clara, lucky you, and Nelly, I think your houses are going to be more like the last one here, okay? I think they're going to be more like that, with the chickens and the dogs and the cats and all these kind of stuff, okay? Because I know you're not living in the center of the city. You're living about 5 to 7 kilometers from the city center in residential areas. Okay. What do you know? Here we go. I want you to write the word. Write the word. Don't worry if you are right or wrong. What do you think? Spanish homes and Spanish houses, are they normally clean or dirty? Write the word in the chat if you think that Spanish homes are clean or dirty. Just write clean or dirty in the chat window. Everybody's saying clean. Come on. Somebody must say. I mean, imagine you're living there with the chickens and the dogs and the cats and a donkey and all sorts of other things. Lots of children running around. Okay, Spanish homes are extremely clean. Extremely clean. Okay. It's sometimes you go into a Spanish home and you think, do people actually live here? Everything is absolutely perfect. I come from England, and my family home was complete chaos. There were books and games and toys and things all over, and somebody had, washed their clothes and ironed the clothes, and the clothes were folded in the living room. And I go to my sister's house, and it has not changed very much. But Spanish homes honestly look like nobody has ever lived there, which means that they expect us to be very tidy. Yeah. So you don't leave if you come in, you take your coat off, you don't put it on a chair, you put it where it's meant to be. If you're reading a book, you don't leave it in the living room, you'd be expected to take it with you. This is something which is very important. And for many of us who are used to living in, well, not chaos, but living in less tidy places, something we have to learn. What do you think? Spanish houses, are they empty or full? Are they empty or full of people and things? This is what I ask you. Are they empty or full? They're full, absolutely full of things. Yeah, yeah. They're full of furniture and full of decorations and full of photographs of the family, and the fridge is full of food, and everything is full. Okay? So they don't like minimalist design, lots of space, everything. They tend to fill things up. Okay, what about quiet or noisy? Quiet or noisy? Everybody says noisy. Yeah, absolutely. And these are things which you will have to adapt to. The fact that in Spain, homes and families are noisy. There is noise. There's definitely noise. Okay. And the other thing you need to adapt to is space. So when you say empty or full, and we're talking maybe about space, there are three things which are very important for you to adapt to when you come to Spain. One is time, one is space, and one is noise. So generally, family, social events, school are noisy. Okay? And you wonder how people can really speak, because they're noisy. Space. You'll find that Spanish people generally do not need as much personal space. And they're happy everybody to be crushed together. They don't feel threatened and uncomfortable. But for you, it might be different. And the other thing is time. Time. For English people, punctuality is very important, less than it used to be. But if you arrange to meet a friend, a Spanish friend, what time should we meet? 5 o'clock. Okay. And you go to the particular place, the cinema, for example, at 5 o'clock. And he says, well, it's 5. Where is my friend Esteban? Esteban, where is my friend? And you give him a call. Esteban, where are you? And he said, I'm just coming. Oh, you're not here. We arranged to meet at 5 o'clock. No, where are you? Oh, I'm just putting my shoes on. You say, what? You haven't even left home? No, but I'll be there straight away. I'll be there right away. Okay. So the interpretation of what's being on time, or the whole concept of time, is different as well. Generally in Spain, time is something which is unlimited. Okay. So I will say this once, and I will say it again to you. Very often in Spain, if you go to an event, especially a social event, you know when something will begin. You do not generally know when it's going to finish. Okay? Obviously, if you go to a class or you're going to do something, you know it will begin at 5 and begin at 6. But if somebody says, come to my birthday, we're going out for a drink, we'll meet at 9 o'clock in the evening, there is no indication of when it's going to finish. At this point, it's very important for you to interact with the person who's inviting, but also with your host family, to say, I'm going out at 9 o'clock, I will be back at 12. Is that realistic? Is that realistic? If Kudzi were here, he'd let us know. Back at 12? Hold on a minute. If you meet at 9, you only really meet up with everybody at 10. And in Valencia, particularly, at 10 o'clock on a Saturday night, people just go and look for somewhere they can have something to eat before they have their social event. So at 11 o'clock, they're actually going out partying and stuff like this, but they might not finish until 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 in the morning. And that's why it's, it's a difficult thing, but you will want to ask people, yeah, we're going out, I would like to go, at what time will I finish? Okay, and they might just laugh and say, we don't know. Okay, so we're not going to look at all these things. Spanish homes are also, they tend to be very warm, very good central heating, and they don't care, they don't talk about, we need to save money, so not so much heating, turn the heating down. They don't talk about things in terms of money as much as we do, the English, for example, which is a good thing. It means you will be more comfortable. And light or dark, this is strange. Yes, of course it's light, but it's not, maybe because there's so much sunlight in Spain generally, people are not that bothered about having a lot of natural light at home. That's just something. Here we are, some challenges. Okay. I'm going to ask you to think about these things. I'm going to put you in a little group now, in your groups now. And I wonder, what would you do? Challenges with a Spanish family. Three things here. The family takes you to an extended family gathering, which goes on from hours. This is what I mean. Yes, we're going to have lunch with Auntie and Uncle, Jose and Maria. Oh, at what time? We're going to go at 2. Fine. We'll have lunch. Lunch is at 3 o'clock. That's good. Lunch goes, yeah, by 4:30 we've finished lunch. Oh, but they've made a cake. Oh, so that goes until 5 o'clock. At 5 o'clock, they decide, well, why don't we play cards until 6 o'clock? At 6 o'clock, they say, hey, there's a fantastic new shop nearby. Let's all go to the shop, to IKEA, for example. Everybody goes to IKEA, comes back at 8 o'clock. At 8 o'clock, they'll go, it's time for dinner. Stay. And the family say, all right, we'll stay for dinner. Well, they start making dinner at 8:30. You have dinner at 9 or 9:30. You're finished at 10 or 10:30. And then they say, hey, you know what? There's a brilliant new ice cream parlor next door. It's summer. Let's all go and have an ice cream. It's 10:30, 11 o'clock, 11:30. Wow, you've been with these people for 8 or 9 hours. And for you, because you don't speak Spanish, because you don't know all the people, this might make you feel really tired or uncomfortable because, you know, you only know a limited amount of Spanish. What would you do? There's my question. What would you do in this case of the extended family gathering? Number 2, here's another challenge. Somebody in the family is making you feel uncomfortable. This can be in many, many different ways. I want you to decide in which way do you think, can you imagine that you would feel uncomfortable because of somebody in the family? And what would you do? I want you to imagine the situation, please. And the third challenge is you feel that the family are asking you to spend too much time with the children. In fact, the family have given you a timetable, a piece of paper, which says exactly from 4 o'clock in the afternoon until 9 o'clock in the evening, all the things they want you to be doing every day with the children at home. What would you do if that happened? All these things have happened, right? All these things have happened. So I want you to get together in your groups now and to decide what you would do in each of these situations, okay? So in room number 1, we've got Sarah, the 2 Sarahs. You're going to talk together, okay? And I want you to think about the first situation, about these family gatherings which go on for a long time. What would you do? How could you manage that to make yourself feel more comfortable and obviously without offending the family? Okay, situation number 2. I want you to discuss this, Lena, Nele, and Paula. Okay? Lena, Nele, and Paula. Discuss this amongst yourselves and bring me back when we come back after the room discussion. I want you to tell me what you would do and what the situation is. Who in the family is making you feel uncomfortable? And in room number 3, we've got Tammy and Tammy, Ricky and Tammy. I want you to discuss what you would do if you felt the family were unreasonable and were asking you to spend too much time with the children, okay? I will then explain what happened in each of the 3 cases, which we have seen, okay? So let me send you away. Yes, it's gone. It's still on his boat. Okay. Clara, I'm going to send you into room number 3 as well. Okay. So I'm going to send you away to room number 3. So time for you to go and discuss these things. Okay. Each room should only discuss one of the questions, the one that I've asked you to do. So I will pause the recording. Okay, that's great. So Clara and the 2 Sarahs, sorry, Clara, I put you into a room without really telling you what I was expecting from you. So tell us, Sarah and Sarah, family takes you to an extended family gathering, which goes on for hours. They can't tell you. One of the problems is that this can be a way out, a long way from where you live. you know, so you don't have transport. What would you do? What would you do? Tell me about this, Sarah. One of the Sarahs, please. What would you do?
Maybe at the first part to maybe get into it and maybe like do the best of it. And you can also see a chance in it to get involved. For example, for me, it's like my family, it's doing this in the first week where I am there, and I see it as a chance to get to know the people there and learn a bit more directly in the first week. But they also told me that with the time they have an understanding, or they want me to also meet up people in my age, and they are not expecting me to do this really, really often and every time they meet with their other family. So it's clear at the beginning, and we spoke about it.
Mm-hmm.
And that was
Excellent.
also from their side to that was also their suggestion to that I should do something with people of my age.
Well, that's very good. Okay, so you've already been warned that you're going to be going to one of these big extended family gatherings. Okay, but what would you do? What do you do if you find yourself there, and it is a very good opportunity, but it's also a very big experience? What would you do, Clara? Maybe to try to. Well, how could you manage yourself in this situation? Or the other Sarah, Sarah Oschek. How could you manage this situation to make it less of a challenge?
Well, when it happens for the first time, I think I would just let it happen and observe. And but when it's more frequent, and yeah, I don't know, I think I would just, after the gathering, maybe talk to my host mother and tell her about it. And I also think that she will be very understanding that it's not my first language, it's the foreign language that I may have my difficulties. So I think I would, yeah, go for communication.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's very good to identify the person you would have the best rapport with in the family, and be able to say this, you know. Hopefully they will be sensitive enough to notice. All right. But often with very big family gatherings, you'll notice that there's a few people who speak a lot and a lot of people who don't say very much, but they're just kind of relaxed in each other's company. And it's difficult for you to be relaxed in those situations when it's your first time. Yeah, I think another thing you can do, a strategy, is if you know that one of these very long gatherings is coming up, maybe you want to speak to one of the other volunteers who lives near you, and arrange to do something that evening. Okay, so you might say, "Oh, we're going to the family. Yes, you know, I've arranged at 3 o'clock we're going to have lunch. Oh, you know, at 7 o'clock I've arranged to meet Paula to go to the cinema." So you yourself are putting something, you are creating an end to the event. It will not always be possible. Okay, it will not always be possible. And you know, Spanish people have a great, especially some of the older people, they will come up to you and they'll speak. And all they're saying is, "Are you enjoying yourself?" And you don't understand. And they'll say it louder and louder and louder. And they think if they say it very, very loud, you will really understand. So you have to practice your best smile. I'm not saying about being, false or dishonest, just saying they want you to have a good time. Show them you're having a good time. Can be difficult. It's a challenge. I know, happens to me still. I've been in Spain for 30 years. Still happens to me. Okay, someone in the family is making you feel uncomfortable. Tell me, in which way, and what would you do? Lena, tell me then, if somebody in the family were making you feel uncomfortable, can you think about what kind of situation would make you feel uncomfortable in the family? And what would you do?
Yeah, we discussed the situation that there could be problems with the language, and that we don't understand everything perfectly, for example, and the person in the family does not tolerate that, or the understanding is missing. And as a solution, we all agreed that communication is very important, that you should openly address the problem with the person, and if that doesn't work, turn to other family members and talk to them about the problem to find a solution.
Wow, I think that's brilliant. Yeah, to keep it in the family. Sometimes, yes. And let me tell you the situation which we did have recently in the summer. And the situation was that that there was a little girl. She was 4 years old, 5 years old, 4 or 5 anyway. And we had a female volunteer. And the female volunteer complained to me and said, well, the little girl, every time I go out, the little girl goes into my room and looks in my things and takes things out. And I said, well, I tell you what you have to understand is that for a little girl or a little boy, you have come in, and for this little girl, you are like, wow, the most fantastic person she has ever seen. It's like, wow, it's Barbie has come to my house with a big suitcase. And I am so curious to know what, well, I say Barbie, but any kind of, imaginary, fantastic figure has come to my house. And wow, she's got a big suitcase. I am so curious to know and see the things which she has, because all her clothes and all her things just seem marvelous. And the curiosity was too much for me. Okay. And that was what was making our volunteer feel uncomfortable. And we said, well, look, it is completely natural that younger children are absolutely fascinated by volunteers or people coming in. Okay? But who's the person to talk to? Not the little girl. She won't understand. You'd have to speak to their mum or their dad, depending on whoever tends to be the kind of leading figure around the house, and explain. Let them do it. Okay? Let them do it. You don't want to spoil the relationship, or you don't want to seem hostile. So let them do it. They will know exactly how to do it. Okay? What I would say, if you felt there was something which was making you feel like you were in danger, if there was some kind of, especially if there was some kind of sexual advance which you did not want and was not appropriate in the family, wow, I think you would have to talk to other volunteers to interpret the situation. This is happening. Have you had this experience? And then I think maybe speak to another person of the same sex at school, okay? Maybe outside of the family, You can talk to me. You will be able to talk to Laura if you feel more comfortable speaking to another female person within the organization. And let's see who we have to speak to. All right, it's very, very important. I have never heard of this happening. All right, and yet I suspect it has happened and it has been managed. It is your right to feel safe, and you must never feel, never turn into a victim, please. All right, even if it's a very passive sort of aggression. All right, but it's something you must not feel you would have to be, you would have to put up with. Okay, very important. And see, we know when is it natural and when do you need to take action, right? But last one, Ricky, Tammy and Tammy. Ricky, I've got to call you Ricky and Tammy. Right, the family are asking you to spend too much time with the children. What do you do? What can you do, please? Either of you.
Yeah, we decided to first have like a week of the schedule they are asking us to do, and then talk to them about it, and maybe also offering solutions and explaining why we need more time on our own, and maybe what we would do on our own as well.
Yeah, I think that's very reasonable. Very reasonable. I think the person to talk to is probably somebody within the family or at the school, because they are responsible for the placement with the family. And so I think it's absolutely fair for you to speak to somebody at the school about this, and to ask them to intervene. If you can also explain, well, actually, I would like to go to the gym and I would like to go to Spanish classes. And also, because I'm not getting a very big allowance, I would like to give some private tuition or conversation classes to earn some pocket money. Okay? And we have had families, two families, one who had a very, very long list of all the different things, and the second family who we did not accept. Actually, Nelly knows this family because Nelly was going to go and stay with this family, but they were so unflexible about the number of hours each week and the exact timetable that they wanted in exchange for paying for the food, that we felt that the relationship was not natural. Okay? We felt the relationship was not natural because they wanted 6 hours a week, but they wanted 6 hours a week sitting down with a book doing English exercises. And we said, no. He said, if it's 5 hours a week, which would be the maximum, that would include some time helping with the homework, or sometimes playing a board game, or sometimes going out and let's go skating or with your scooter, or let's take the dog for a walk together. And you're saying, yeah, I want to do these things with the kids. I'm happy, but it does not have to be sitting down giving English or German class all the time. Okay? Yeah. That's really, really mature responses. Here's some ideas. Here's some things about Spanish families, quite interesting. Most of the time, both parents work. Most of the time, both parents work. And today, it is as likely to see that the mother has a better job or a more responsible job or a job with a better salary than the father. Traditionally, this would not be the way, but now it is. Okay? Job for life. This is what Spanish people want. Spanish people like to work in the public sector for the government. because it is a job for life. Even if the salary is lower, the Spanish people put more value on the stability of the job. And it's different from other countries. So it's very often you'll find people who are teachers or nurses or police officers, for example, not because they are interested in being a teacher or they're interested in medicine, just because it's a job for life in the public sector. Okay, that is the ultimate objective and goal of many, many Spanish people. Spain has a very low birth rate. It has the lowest in Europe, in fact, okay? And the second lowest in the world, which is 1.2, which means for each 5 people, there's only 1 child born. All right? For each 5 women, it's 1.2. It's very, very low. That is because people really want to get their job for life. The most important thing is getting a job for life. More important than having children. As far as income goes, if a Spanish family between the 2 people who are working has income of around 3,500 euros a month between the 2 people who are working, they would be comfortable. They would be comfortable. Okay? So many, many families, both are working and they're earning less than 3,000. And they will not complain very much. They're doing okay. Okay? Some families will earn 10,000 if 2 people working, and they'll be very well off. They'll be extremely comfortable. Spanish people don't like talking about money. Okay? Spanish people don't like talking about money, their salaries, how much people earn. They don't like talking about it. It doesn't matter if they've got lots of money or very little money. They don't talk about money. They don't leave home before the age of 26 or 30. Okay? They have no desire because they're very comfortable living at home. And they don't think, oh, I want to be independent specifically. They're happy living at home until they're 26, 28, or 30. And they tend to get married. They don't get married before they're 32, 33, 34, 35 even. And very often, they only leave home when they get married. Okay, so there's not this idea, maybe we'd like to live together. I'd like to live with my boyfriend, live with my girlfriend to see what the experience is like. Not really. They want to have a perfect house and a perfect home. And then that's why they stay in the family home until much later. Okay, so you see there's different attitudes from Germans or from British people. English people, when they're 17 or 18, say, I want to leave home now, immediately. I want to go. I don't want to stay here. Even if they love their family and they get on very well, they want to leave. They're secular. Okay, secular, this means that people might be Catholic or Christians, but they don't practice very much. They don't practice very much. Okay, generally. And Spanish life is secular. So there is no advantage of being a practicing Catholic unless it's because you like the Catholic religion and that brings you the comfort of faith. All right, but you will not have a better opportunity to get a job if you're practicing or not practicing. And generally, families would not ask you, what is your religion? Okay, and they would not be more or less accepting of you. And now what we do find, there's more diversity in Spain because there's immigration from Morocco, from other parts of the EU, from Latin America, from Colombia, Peru, Ecuador, Africa, okay, Ghana, Guinea, from Southern Africa, Zimbabwe, South Africa, not a lot. Less in Germany. I know there are lots of Turkish people, lots of Syrian people, in lots of Ukrainian people. In Spain, some Ukrainians, but less Syrian, less Iranian, less Persian, less Turks. Maybe we start to find Pakistani people in Spain as well, and Chinese people. Okay, that for Spanish people is very different. 20 years ago, there was very little immigration. This is a Spanish timetable. Look for the meal times. There's lots of meal times there. The desayuno, which is breakfast, is very quick. Okay? People have their desayuno. I hope you don't like a big breakfast. I like a big, long breakfast. My wife is that cup of tea, I've gone. My son doesn't even have breakfast. He's just left. He's gone. I said, please have a cup of coffee, a glass of milk. No, I don't want it. I'm leaving. And he's off out to school. Okay, desayuno. Very quick, very small. Go to school. Maybe if you're going to work, you'd be at work at 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, not 9 o'clock. 11 o'clock, you've got your almuerzo. Almuerzo, we'll look at this tomorrow in more detail, is your mid-morning snack. And so you'd see all the kids at school, they take their bocadillo, their bocata, which is their bread with some cheese or some ham or something else inside it, like a sandwich. And during the recess or break, playtime, they're all eating their almuerzo. For adults, this might mean going to a cafe to have a cup of coffee and a piece of omelette. Some people have no almuerzo. Okay, it depends on the region of Spain as well. If you come to Valencia, it's very, very important. All right? In fact, some people have the almuerzo, the mid-morning snack, instead of having lunch. Okay, comida, that is the lunch at 2 o'clock. Have to get used to this, that the Spanish like to express the times, like on the left, using the 24-hour clock. Okay? So you have your comida, and after the comida, after the lunch, you have your siesta time. So that's 2 hours for lunch, at least. In some parts of Spain, it's 3 hours for lunchtime. You finish class at 2 o'clock with your lunch or your comida, and then you have your siesta, which is your nap. Not everybody goes to sleep. Some people do. Some people take their pajamas and put them on and get into bed. Some people don't. The kids tend not to. They just carry on chatting on Instagram. By about 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock, you're back to work with your afternoon classes, or you're doing something, or you're going to the gym, or you're giving some private classes. Kids are going off to classes, and then they're going to do, you might be back at school, or you might be doing other things. And at 5:30, you've got your merienda, approximately, which is your afternoon snack. And the kids take out their bocadillo, or their sandwich, or a piece of fruit, or a chocolate bar, or some yogurt, or some orange juice, and they have that. And then after the merienda time, maybe at 6 o'clock, is when the children might go to English class or might go to their sports team or might go to the library or play with their friends. And they have homework at that time, okay? Until the cena. The cena at 8:30, 30 hours there. That's dinner, when the family eat together, the evening meal. That's going to be half an hour, 40 minutes. And about 9:30 is the children's bedtime. To get an idea of the children's bedtime, 9:30, 10 o'clock is prime time television in Spain. So if there's something important on the television, it will be on at 10 o'clock at night. Okay? So if your family watch TV, then they would tend to watch it together at 10 o'clock at night. The big movie or like the reality TV show or something like this, 10 o'clock at night. And sometimes, even during the week, these TV programs go on for 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, especially reality TV. Okay? And adults don't tend to go to bed before 11:30 or midnight or 1 o'clock. Okay? Check it out. You will find that your rhythm adapts. It's difficult at the beginning, especially in the evening. Volunteers tell me. I like to go to bed at 9:30 or 10 o'clock, they say. And, you know, I find it really difficult to be waiting and expected to watch the television. That's fine. Okay? Not a problem. If you want to go to bed before, not a problem. I think it's more of a problem when the volunteer wants to go to bed before the children do. So that's, you're going to have to make a bit of an effort. Okay. You'll get used to this eating at 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Well, I'm used to eating at 12, 11 at noon. Wow. You're going to have to adjust a little bit. How will you adjust? You're very hungry at 12 o'clock. Well, take some fruit. Okay, have a banana. You won't be able to have a pizza or have a big meal. The people don't have pizza for lunch anyway, but we'll see that tomorrow. Okay. Some more challenges, things which you might find. You don't like the family food, so you go and buy some snacks, biscuits, crisps, fruit, and you keep them in your room. There's a challenge. Would you do that? Is that a good thing to do? Is that reasonable? Anybody? Can anybody tell me? Is that reasonable to go and buy some food and snacks and crisps and cookies and keep them in your room? What do you think? Yes or no? Put it in the chat. Do you think that's reasonable? Yes or no? In the chat. Yes or no? What do you think? Is it reasonable? Yes or no? If you don't like the family food, no, 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 no. Then no. Good, excellent. 2 reasons. 1, you have to get used to the family food. Secondly, do not think that you can live eating snacks for 6 or 9 months. We had one girl, she was a female volunteer, who never ate. She actually told the family that she was having lunch at school, because some schools will give you lunch. And she wasn't having lunch at school. She was only eating chocolate biscuits. And she only ate chocolate biscuits for about 6 months. Okay. And at the end of 6 months, she looked like somebody who had only eaten chocolate biscuits for 6 months, which wasn't very healthy. Okay. So one, you have to get used to the family eating times and the family food. And the second thing is families, Spanish families would not understand you buying food and bringing it home. They do not understand this at all. They would feel offended and think that you prefer to eat snacks rather than their food. Okay, they just don't understand it. And snacks, you'll find them everywhere on offer all the time. And yet Spanish people do not seem to eat them. Spanish adults eating cookies or chocolate bars. Doesn't know. It's just not part of their habits. Okay, and definitely not keeping food in their rooms. That's something that they would tell their own children off about. So don't eat, we're keeping your bananas in your room. That's dirty. You know, that's the insects will come in. Those are the typical things they would say. Okay. Number two, yes or no? You think the children at your home are looking for your clothes. So you ask for a lock on your door. Yes or no? Can you ask for a lock on your door? Yes or no? Paula says yes. Interesting. Yeah, normally, this is interesting. Normally, the only room in a family home with a lock is the bathroom. Okay, so the family would find it very, very strange if you asked for a lock. Okay, they would find it very, very strange if you asked for a lock. I think, therefore, you would have to put anything which you didn't want anybody else to see in your suitcase and lock the suitcase. Okay, I think that's the only thing you could do. Also, you might find, depending on the heating system, if you have central heating or if it's an air pump or air-conditioned heating system, you might find not that the children are opening the door, but rather the family are leaving the doors open at home because they need the air to circulate around the house. Okay? Because if you have one of these modern air-conditioned systems, if the system finds that in one room it's very hot, it might think that the whole house is very warm because the air has to circulate. So sometimes that's one reason you might find the doors are open when you left them closed. I'm thinking about my home. The doors are never closed, ever, in my home. Nobody's door, unless you're in there doing something alone, which you don't want to be disturbed. But the rest of the day, the doors are open. It's interesting. So it's something you'd have to discuss with the family. What about this one? The family don't want to give you a key when you arrive. Is that acceptable? Yes or no? Is it acceptable they don't want to give you a key at the beginning? Yes or no? What do you think? Is it acceptable? Yes or no? Sarah says no. Ricky says yes. Sarah says yes. Nelly says yes. Nina says yes. We do ask all the families to give you a key, okay? So we don't think it's acceptable. No would be the answer. They should give you a key, unless they live in a very specific place where you could only come with the family. I'm thinking of Ricky, and I'm thinking maybe of Clara, possibly Nelly, because you're going to be living in houses rather than flats. That's definite. And maybe I said, well, because you always come with us and you always leave with us during the week, why would you need a key? Or there's always somebody at home. But I think I would always argue on your behalf and say, yes, you should be given a key because you are an adult. Okay? And here's a couple more things just to finish off with. Being proactive at home. What's good practice? Here's a few things I think you should do at the family home. Clean up, which just means leaving things as you found them. If the place was clean, leave it clean. Of course. Respect timetables, especially as far as meals go, but also what time do you come home in the evening if you're going out with your friends? Why is that important? One, the family like to know where you are and what time you're coming home, what time to expect you home. But also, if there's small children living in the house, then if you come in very late, the family would not want them to be disturbed or woken up. Tell the family where you're going and when you're going, okay? Because that way they will know when to expect you, and they will also know, oh, maybe you're going to Madrid. Well, maybe this weekend in Madrid there's some special thing which they don't feel very comfortable about. Maybe there's a political demonstration, and they would be able to tell you, well, you know, be careful. Share well. Share things. Offer things. If you get offered an apple, take the bowl and offer other people the apple, okay? An apple. They love that. They love that, okay? I'm guilty. I'm not very good at this, okay? So I get given something when I go to my wife's family, and I don't pass it on. I just say thank you and let them pass it round. Participate in family life, please. Okay, family life doesn't finish at a certain time of the day. It's 7 days a week. Say yes when they offer you something. Always say yes the first time. It's a new experience for you. Take advantage. You don't have to say yes the second time if you didn't like that food or you didn't like that particular activity. Offer to do chores, to share the housework, please, and engage with the family. Be communicative and help promote children's development. This is something we will look at another time. But I say promote children's development, not just by talking in a different language, but allowing the children to teach you things and helping the children become more responsible for their own things. And we do have some ideas which we will look at. So, for example, even if you're with very small children, Spanish families do not spend enough time looking at family and children's development. And this is something we can do. So when it comes to even very small children, if you're with them, helping them to tidy things, to put their toys away, helping them to make their bed. For children, it's an adventure. It's something nice, okay? It's fun, and you can make it fun with them. And this is right up until the age of, you know, 14 or older children, up to 12, 14, okay? The children should be taking care of their pets, should be helping prepare meals. Okay. Children in Spain are very overprotected by their parents. They don't have to do anything. Okay. And this is just some advice which we've said before. We've just seen this. The last one is important: space and time and noise. But whilst we're here, we'll just see one more of our ex-volunteers and see what he has to say. Okay, this is a photograph of a fantastic family and having a great time. This was one of our volunteers, Will, playing the guitar and singing with the family, and it was a lot of fun. Yeah, this was the summertime. Will was only here for 1 month, and of course they looked like they were very, very happy. Yeah, I can't imagine they were this happy all the time. It would not be natural. And this was Jacob. Let's listen what Jacob has to say.
Hello, my name's Jacob. I'm from New Zealand. I'm placed in Arroyo, which is just outside of Valladolid. It's a 10-minute by bus. It's real nice. The school's brilliant because the teachers are real nice. Always food in the staff room. The students are real friendly. Always saying hello. The other volunteers, they're great, yeah. Real friendly, got on with them in the first week. Helped when we were on the plane together for 27 hours. Yeah, great, yeah.
Okay, listen to him again.
Hello, my name's Jacob. I'm from New Zealand. I'm placed in Arroyo, which is just outside of Valladolid. It's a 10-minute by bus. It's real nice. The school's brilliant because the teachers are real nice. Always food in the staff room. The students are real friendly. Always saying hello. The other volunteers, they're great, yeah. Real friendly, got on with them in the first week. Helped when we were on the plane together for 27 hours. Yeah, great, yeah.
Okay, what didn't he mention? He mentioned the school, he mentioned the town. What didn't he mention? What didn't he mention? Anybody? He didn't mention the family. Okay, Jacob didn't have a good family. Jacob had a family who were very, very strict. And they didn't give him a key. And in fact, they said, no, first you must earn our respect and then we will give you a key. And they were really, really cold with him. All right. So it wasn't like he was coming as a family member. It was like he was coming and he had to prove some massive, important thing before he was accepted. And he tried, he really tried. In the end, he just didn't feel comfortable with the family. Okay, so I was really glad when he told me exactly what was happening. And we actually offered to change him. And he did change family in the end. He did change family. The school changed the family. Okay, so it is important to know that not all families are like the guys with the red t-shirts here, all really, really happy. Okay, not always like that. Okay, good. So that's what we've got to talk about families. We'll stop now. Any questions?